Senator Eric Schmitt. Senator, great to have you on the program today. Thank you for being here. My big question is, how does this help us in our competition with China? Because we are in the fight of our lives and we're just burning money and then printing more and creating more deficits for ourselves and not addressing the real issue.
It's stupid. I don't know what else to say. All of this is just not in our national interest. It's not in our national security interest. It's not in our economic interest. Even if you accepted the proposition from these climate alarmists that somehow we can control the weather. I mean, they're talking about sacrificing animals, cows, at the altar of this woke climate agenda. I mean, it's just really bizarre. But even if you accepted the premise, if China and India aren't on board, nothing is going to change, even if you felt like you could move the needle. And so China's building a coal-fired plant every 14 days. They have the critical minerals that we are now, losing, shedding American jobs, shipping those jobs overseas, relying on them for supply chains and critical minerals, for materials, for batteries, for EVs. There's not a market for in this country. I mean, it is really economic suicide on our behalf. And so this administration, it's sort of like what they do. I mean, you talk about just sort of the woke aspect of this and just out of step with the priorities of Americans, but there's real consequences. If you want to know why Joe Biden's having a problem in Michigan with the polling, it's because these auto workers understand what this means for them. This is hollowing out our middle class and benefiting China. And this is, by the way, on the same day that we found out that not only did he drain the Strategic Petroleum Reserve for an election year ploy for the midterms, now he won't refill it because prices are too high. I mean, this is a very dangerous situation. But again, it's all about genuflecting to the radical left on this climate agenda.
Senator, are you going to be able to kill this climate core idea before it costs us billions and billions of dollars?
I would hope so. And by the way, this is one of the reforms I've been talking about, and a lot of other members, particularly newer members, are talking about. We have to get back to a place where we're handling bills individually. Because if all that you're left with, guys, is some omnibus that's unveiled at midnight that no one's read, that's how ridiculous, wasteful spending ends up. And that's why the American people are frustrated. And so we've got to get back to a place where we're dealing with individual appropriation bills or different kind of vehicles that people can amend, Republicans and Democrats, and more members have a say in the Senate. And I'm not going to speak for the House, but I'm sure that's something that they're talking about too. So part of the reason why we're $35 trillion in debt is because you have all these ridiculous pet projects that end up in some omnibus monstrosity that is driving us, by the way, over a fiscal cliff. We spend about $1 trillion now on the interest of that debt. That's more than we spend on our military. It's not sustainable.
Not sustainable. Switch gears with me, though, Senator, if you will. Senator Bernie Sanders out with another op-ed once again today, pushing a 4-day work week, 32 hours instead of 40, but no loss in pay. Is that the new American dream?
I don't think so. I mean, the reality of Bidenomics and his economy is people are working 2 jobs. They're working more to make less than they did just a few years ago because we have, record inflation. Look, this is not a natural disaster, inflation. There's actually a formula for it. It turns out if you spend trillions you don't have and you declare war on domestic energy production, the cost of everything goes up. And that's what people are feeling. Every time they go to the grocery store, the sticker shock, at least 20% more expensive now for most items, household items, than just a few years ago. So again, this disastrous policy that you're highlighting here today with, spending billions and trillions we don't have on ridiculous schemes that don't empower, average, ordinary Americans, that's how we've gotten where we're at.
And we have lived through it. We've seen it in living color. Senator Schmitt, thank you so much. Great to see you.